there, today we're going to be doing a color wheel mandala, and I started out getting a nice sturdy piece of paper if I'm working with paint, or if you're working with color pencils, you can do a piece of printer paper that I'll show you how to fold in a different video. We got to start out with our supplies. We have red paint, yellow paint, blue paint, and these are making sure that they are primary colors. And if you don't have primaries, get the closest ones to it. Then you want white paint, black paint, a palette for mixing your colors, brushes. You want like a big one and maybe a couple small ones if you have it. If you don't, that's fine. Just use the ones closest to those sizes. A ruler for measuring out our color wheel. A pencil. Our handy dandy eraser. A cup with water and a paper towel for wiping your brushes. And these are all the supplies you would need for painting a color wheel. For my color wheel, I used a plate mold, but you can use anything circular, like a lamp, a roll of tape, anything that's going to give you a big circle. So first thing we're going to do is measure out our cross section for our paper using the 2 tick marks. My paper was 12 by 13, so I'm marking it 5.5 and 6. Then we want to line up our circle as best we can to try and center it between those lines. To use my ruler to make sure the edges are fairly consistent. I'm trying to find 1 inch on one side and 1 inch on the other, as well as 0.5 and 0.5. Then I'm just going to hold this puppy down and trace. Make sure you get all the way around the edges so no parts are missing. And this is just approximate. If it's not perfect, it's okay. We're just trying our best here. And voila, there it is. So now I'm going to take a look at some of my mandala ideas. I've got Tibetan, Chinese, and Indian styles. I think personally I like Indian the best because it's very floral and flowery. But feel free to use other designs. Next we're going to cut out our circle. I'm just going to cut along the edge as straight as I can, going slow but sped up for you guys because I know it's a little bit boring to watch me cut paper. Next we're going to trace our slices. So here I have some craft paper. If you have regular paper, it's totally fine. I just chose craft so that you guys could see the one edge. Got my circle nice and cut out for you, and then I'm going to line this guy up and just trace the edge of my circle so that I make sure it matches with the rest of it. So now I've got that cut out. I folded it 3 times to get equal parts of the pie, and I'm cutting out 1 piece, and I'll save the other 2 for later. Now all I'll do is trace it 12 times around. You need 12 equal parts. If some of them aren't perfect, it's okay. Next, we'll create our design. So taking one of those triangles, we'll fold it in half. This way we get perfect symmetry on both sides. I've done some designs already. I did a little bit geometric, more organic, and then a mixture. I think I like that middle one the best. So all I'm going to do is copy it. I would do more simplistic items. I wouldn't do anything too big or too small, right? And then we're just going to start cutting. It's really important that you make sure you leave pieces of the paper behind. It's what I call a bridge. This right here is the bridge. That way I don't have my piece falling apart. Again, choose shapes that are simple. Easy to cut with scissors. We don't have X-Acto knives here, so we can't get super precise. Next up, we'll be tracing it. You're going to line it up best in your triangles. Again, if it goes a little over or a little bit under, it's okay. We just want it to be as close as possible. And then we just trace. And this is where it gets a little tedious because you gotta trace it 12 times. So the bigger the shapes you did, the less you'll have to trace, and the smaller the shapes you did, the more intricate your design. Next, we gotta label the wheel. So I pulled up a color wheel on my phone, and we're gonna put it up in here. Starting out, I normally start with yellow. I don't know why, it's just the one I start with. And we're labeling at the top very lightly with our pencil so we can cover it up with paint later. Right. Next, we have to do tint, tone, and shade. Tint is mixing with white, tone is mixing with gray, and shade is mixing with black. So I'm choosing the little shapes from the background that I have, and I'm labeling them with a T for tint, a TO for tone, and then an S for shade. My ones at the top are going to be my tint, my shapes in the middle will be my tones, and my shape at the bottom, which kind of makes that big flower in the middle, will be shade. And here it is up a little closer, I hope you can see it. So once again, tint, tone, and shade. Tint, tone, shade. It has to go tint on the outside, tone in the middle, and shade in this very center. So here we go for color mixing. So I'm starting out, I'm gonna have my colors, black, white, blue, and then I also put red in the palette to show you how to mix two primaries together to get a secondary color. I can show you a little bit with yellow later. So here's blue on the color wheel. We're going to start with blue because I find it's the easiest color to mix with the tints, tones, and shades, and it still kind of looks pretty. Here are my brushes again. I've got my bigger brush to fill in my areas, and then I have my smaller brushes for details. So starting with blue, I want 1 part blue. I'm just going to fill in my areas. My background of my circle should be my original hue. If you have extremely thin paint, you can paint it over twice to make it look more solid, but if not, I wouldn't worry about it. Then make sure you swirl your brush to make sure it's nice and clean, and wipe off any excess water on your paper towels. Now I'm going to use my thin brush, and I'm going to come in to do my tint. I want 1 part blue, and then 1 part white. Sometimes a little extra white is okay. So after I've got that good and mixed, I can come back and paint in my top shapes. Remember, the top shapes are the ones you want as the tint. And I'm using my small brush to get those fine details. So next is my tone. I'm just going to take the same pile and add a little bit of black. You might have to come back in with more blue and white because by now your paint has run really thin. You see I'm taking a lot of time to master that color. Then I paint in those shapes. Now I'll have to clean my brush because I need to have pure blue and pure black for my shade. If you have white in it, it becomes a tone and it is no longer a shade, so make sure you clean your brush. And there's blue. We've got our tints, our tones, and our shade. So now if we turn the wheel, right next to it we have blue-violet. And then next to that, we have violet, which is 1 part red and 1 part blue. Sometimes blue is a little too strong for the type of red that you have, and you need to add a little bit more red to make it look more of an even violet. This happens with a lot of paints. Remember, secondary is a ratio of 1 to 1 primaries. A tertiary is a ratio of 1 to 2 primaries. I'm just going to paint a little to show you the color. It looks really dark on the screen, but in real life, it looks much more purple. Then for blue-violet, I just added more blue. Now turning to show you green. So green, again, this is another color where blue can overpower it quickly. So I'm just going to grab a little bit of blue, and then I'm going to grab a big scoop of yellow. Don't worry about it looking too yellow-green. If it does, we can add more blue. Then for yellow-green, add more yellow, and for blue-green, add more blue. Now that we've got our 3 greens, all you would need to do is add black and white to make your tints, tones, and shades. And these mixtures would be used for your 3 triangles, blue-green, green, and yellow-green. Now we've gone over the basics of making your color mandala with paint. Have fun creating!